Well, as the warger, like, they look at you, they hunch down, and they start charging, and you're like, what are these things? 'Cause you're like,
This is all happening internally.
I know about you.
So do you want to know what I just rolled there?
What did you roll?
A natural 20.
A natural 20!
Welcome to the Educated Guest podcast with me, Dr. Dan O'Hare.
And me, Dr. Cora Sargeant.
Where two educational psychologists reveal how little they really know.
Each episode will discuss and reflect on topics in education, psychology, or society, puzzling our way through and no doubt demonstrating just what we don't know.
But along the way, we'll welcome some educated guests who can shed light on some complexities that we'll reflect on. Welcome to the Educated Guests podcast. Nearly left that podcast bit out.
The Educated Guests podcast.
Happy Beltane.
Happy Beltane. What is Beltane?
I knew you were going to ask that. So 1st of May is Beltane. It's like one of the oldest Irish Gaelic and Celtic sort of festivals, I guess. All about joy and energy and life and welcoming in the summer. So this would have been like the festival for like winter is done, summer is here. So lots of focus on joy, ecstasy, sex, everything.
Excellent. When you said joy and ecstasy, I was like, that's real trending towards some.
Yeah. So very much like, for me, I guess like a time of the year, which is like about, with this like fruitful growing season ahead, like in my life, what do I want to grow? What do I want to develop? What projects? This is kind of like in the natural world, the growing time. So I try to like mirror those things in life as well. So this is like a really energetic time. So what do I want to do? This
is a time of personal growth where you've sown the seeds within
previously.
Yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So in that spirit then, Dan, what seeds have you sown within Dan?
Previously. Yeah.
Previously.
That's a good question. There's a couple of things, like couple of projects that I'm really wanting to start. I'm not going to say what they are yet, though, because I haven't decided if we're actually going to do them. But like a little example, like because out there in nature, everything is now like growing and flowering and blossoming. Like I think maybe that little bit of encouragement to kind of, we can mirror that in our lives. So, like we've just published the EdSci policy on the use of generative AI for the site. And that's kind of like, that was new, creative, lots of sort of thinking and talking to lots of people, and kind of mirrored the idea of like, we can create new things, and it's a good time of year to do it. So incredible.
And the EdSci policy on AI, generative AI is, in a nutshell, don't.
Pretty much. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. Actually, human authored stuff is really, really cool, and we really want it, and readers want it. I'm really fascinated by the research that kind of, and we are definitely going to do an AI episode. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, for sure.
Really fascinated by the research and like little colloquial comments, like I've seen on social media already, like in response to our AI policy, of people saying, when I notice it's AI, I just stop. I can't be bothered.
Yes. Yeah.
Like read time drops, care and commitment about what you're reading drops off. And that's definitely not what we would want people to be feeling when they read, all the great blogs on EdSci.
So what have you been up to, Dan? Have you been up to anything interesting this week?
It has been busy because it was my birthday.
Hey, congratulations. Happy birthday.
Congratulations. I survived another rotation of the around the sun. Yeah, it was good. It was so much fun. Yeah, we did a lot. We went to London. So the day started off with Japanese patisserie, which was delicious.
Oh, really? A Japanese patisserie.
Bakery. Ooh. Yeah, very, very, just very graceful and elegant little patisseries.
Ooh, lovely.
Very well flavoured. We walked around some London parks, went to the National Portrait Gallery, went for dinner. Surprise guest being my cousin. Did not expect her to be there. Just saw this random lady walk in who then shouted happy birthday, and it was my cousin. So that was really fun.
That's very cool.
And then we went to see Hadestown at the theatre on Shaftesbury Avenue.
Ooh.
And that was fantastic.
Very cool. Hadestown is Greek, but like a Greek mythology musical.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. So it is about the combined stories of Orpheus and Eurydice and Hades and Persephone. So Orpheus and Eurydice is a Greek tragedy. Hades and Persephone, if you remember like your primary school Greek history, Persephone is the daughter of Demeter, so you're all about the natural world, and Hades takes her, or in more contemporary tellings, Persephone has a more active role in that, down to the underworld. So when she's in the underworld for half the year, that's winter. When she comes back up into the world, that's spring and summer. But everything's out of balance and everything's out of kilter. And Hades and Persephone's love is not what it was or should be, and that's affecting the world.
Oh, wow. That sounds awesome. I want to go see this.
It was very good. Yeah, it was set like it was kind of like a 1920s like swing club. So double basses, trombones, violins, like just like you were, as if they were telling you the story, like you'd gone into this club to see the story.
Right, okay.
Which is very cool. So lots of like fourth wall breaking, talking to the audience and introducing themselves and the band. But yeah, really good. Cried, obviously. Put me in front of a musical, I'm going to cry at some point.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, highly recommend it. It was very cool.
Incredible. Well, happy birthday. That sounds like a really nice day.
Thank you. Yeah. What have you been up to?
I went swimming, which was listen, once upon a time, swimming was easy. I just go swimming. Now it's an entire thing.
Okay.
Because you're like, swimming showers are like the worst place for a trans woman to be. Like, really scary place. If somebody's going to feel affronted by your presence, that's where they're going to feel affronted. So I kind of tried to stay as subtle as I could, and of course you can't wear makeup and stuff, so it's like, and then I got into the pool, slunk my way in to the pool, into the slow lane, and pushed off and just tried to do what I would always do, right? And one of the things that's really weird about MS, especially if you've got spinal cord lesions, is that the sensory signals from the legs can't really be interpreted very well. So your legs will, like, toes will curl, your legs will like flinch away from sensory signals as if you're on fire or something bizarre.
Okay.
So the water running over my legs made them curl. So I was like, oh, I can't stay afloat here. Now I'm having to use all the strength of my arms to just keep myself above water, and I'm like spluttering as I get through it. And the first thing I think is I better be spluttering in a femme enough register.
Oh God!
If I drown here, I'm gonna drown as femme as I can.
Wow. Yeah, I'm drowning. Shit, did that sound okay?
Yeah, did I sound all right? Did I just cough in the wrong word? Yeah.
Yeah. But you did not drown, so
mercifully no. I mean,
great.
My arms are strong now from the wheelchair, and I was okay. Definitely I wouldn't consider it was safe or easy, but I did it. And
congrats.
Now my body really hurts.
The tiredness. I mean, yeah, swimming is great. What a full body workout, really.
It's a real full body workout, yeah.
I have been talking a lot to my brother recently. This is completely unrelated to what you just said. I'm just like jumping tracks.
I want to know.
Yeah. He's getting married in November. So lots of prep around that and lots of exciting things. And I'm well into it. I'm like, show me the suit colors, show me the tie options, show me the flowers.
Yeah. Are you in the wedding party?
Yes. Yeah.
The suits are always okay. The bridesmaids' dresses are a real mixed bag. Like,
okay.
I've never been a bridesmaid ever.
Okay.
Because all my friends got married before I transitioned, so I was in a few wedding parties,
but not.
But not.
Yeah. I've been a bridesman.
A bridesman, very cool.
Gender kind of stereotype breaking way.
Very cool.
Yeah, one of my best friends got married in 2015. I looked up there because the little present she got us has the date on it, so I now know. So she had a bridesmaid and a bridesman, which was really nice.
That's really lovely. Break the rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah, but that's it. I mean, we recorded relatively recently. The Good News Matters. That's some really nice like responses to that already. And
Good News Matters has gone so well. Like people have, I think
I saw Keith reply, like Keith, who has asked a question on our Q&A episode.
Hello, Keith.
I saw him talking about listening to the podcast, encourage him to share some good news that he'd had this week. So yeah, that's cool. Sort of people's positivity.
Really, it really is. I saw that post as well, and I gotta say, I felt like it was, I felt better for reading it. Right?
Yeah, likewise. Yeah,
it's also a good example of gratitude and kindness, and people seeing a little of that in a public sphere is a good thing. I think the positive psychology literature sites. So it's not just good news, but it's also kindness and gratitude. Keith, your post of the week. Is that a new segment we could do now?
Yeah, we could do that post of the week. Yeah, yeah. So this episode,
yes,
this was your idea. I'm clearly shit at this.
I mean,
I just turn up.
I go through several though. Once again, I went through like 4 before we reached one, which we were really happy with.
Yeah.
And once again, it's an episode that's not on our list of episode topics. We thought a good idea.
What the hell was the point of writing that list?
To get out all the topics we're not going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I
think part of the issue is that like a lot of those topics that we generated in our away day, we really would like guests for.
Yes, yes.
And the finding and the organising of that is the tricky bit,
really.
Whereas we can get together much more readily and do another topic. So you and your topic generation, A-star.
Thank you. So I do my best. But we've also got some big guests on the horizon. So,
hopefully.
Please look forward to it.
Yeah. So tell us what we're going to do.
We're going to do an episode on Dungeons and Dragons.
We are.
Listener desired, listener demanded Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey, how
many
questions did we have on the Q&A episode about Dungeons and Dragons?
I have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons players out there in the world of supporting children. Who knew?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there were 4 or 5 different people who just asked about the benefits. What is it? How do you do it? Tell us about. So, yeah, I think there's a lot we can do in this episode. Like, it's both something that we've done for years, and we have no doubt worked with many children and young people who do it too. And yeah, I'm excited to explore Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, we can play some D&D.
You play some D&D?
Yeah.
So viewer, we're going to play a bit of D&D. We're just going to play an intro to a sort of...
okay.
To what could become a D&D game. This is how one of my longest ever games, which has now ended, started with this. You are on the back of a wagon. This wagon has been traveling for a couple of 10-day in the D&D world in Forgotten Realms. Weeks last 10 days. They're known as 10 days. And for a couple of 10-day, you've been on the back of this wagon. Your ass hurts at this point. But your spirits are not too dimmed, even though it is now dark and a little bit cold. Furs bundled around you. Across the wagon, there is a half-elf woman known as Cora, Carillion Featherfoot. She has become a little bit of a traveling companion. The two of you have kind of talked endless hours and have come to playing cards countlessly, like a lot, to try and while away the time. Ira, who is the wagon rider, is an older gentleman, grizzled, hardened by long days on the road. Kira, sitting across from you, and she's like, I'm sure you're cheating. Are you cheating? Like, I've been thinking this for at least 3 days now. How many rounds have we played, and how many times have I won? Is it twice? Is it twice I've won? I'm pretty sure I don't have anything left to bet. You would tell me. You would tell me.
And Aeolus, alabaster white half elf, kind of looks back up at Kira. His kind of deep blue eyes, the golden as sort of flecks in them, kind of catching on the moonlight. Looks back over and very, very smugly says, 163 games, Kira, and 2 wins. You are correct. Cheating.
You've been counting? You, that is statistically unlikely. And listen, half elf to half elf, you'd tell me if you were scamming me, right?
I would tell you. I'm just better at this than you.
You can see, she laughs a little, but there's a wound that opens within her when you say that. She's like, fine, one more round, one more. I can do this. I'll bet you. I'll bet you the fur. We're at 10 minutes away from Nightstone. You can have this fur. You can spend the last 10 minutes of this wagon ride in extreme warmth, and I will be cold.
We can play 163 and 2. Kira, your fur, I don't feel the cold the same. It's not necessary, but I'm always up for another win.
You have more elf in you than I do. I feel it so bad. All right. Okay, I'm going to do this. Let's go. You play another round of cards. She shuffles the deck as best she can, and she starts tossing out cards onto the wagon floor. She's going to attempt to play quite honestly. If you are going to try to scam her, I'm going to ask you to roll a sleight of hand check. And if you are going to play honestly, then I'd like you to roll me a straight up luck check, which is going to be just a straight up D20. And if there's anything else you'd like to do, you let me know.
So, Aeolus is old. Aeolus is 260 years old. He's a high elf. He's seen many games, played many games, and in his time has learned quite a few tricks. And despite his pomposity, he has not been playing honestly. 260 years is a long time, and this has been a long wagon journey. It's been fun messing with Kira. So he is playing dishonestly. So I am going to roll a sleight of hand check.
Let's go.
So I've got my D20 dice here. I'm going to roll it, and then I'll tell you what my 21.
21.
21. So I rolled an 18, and I've got a +3 on sleight of hand.
Over the following few minutes, you clean Kira out. She afterwards, she's like, what? How? I really thought I had you that time. And she kind of takes off. She takes off and hands it to you, and you bundle up.
This is very warm, Kira.
She's like shivering in the cold. Ira, who has been smiling and rolling his eyes as he kind of looks back in the wagon, you see him, this kind of long grey hair braided down his back in a French braid, and he has this big bushy beard which he just braided into a couple of braids down the side. He kind of looks over and he says, "We're coming up on Nightstone. I can't wait for some warm beds, and I mean, you've been pleasant company, of course, and your gold is good, but I'm looking forward to someone else to play cards with."
Aeolus, from the inside of his cloak, which is now bedecked with Kira's lovely furs, kind of that glint, that goldy dark blue glint in his eyes kind of catches the moonlight again, and in one fluid movement just kind of pulls out a gold coin, flicks towards Ira, who grabs it out of the air. That kind of cheeky but tired grin on Aeolus's face, kind of just at the corner of his mouth, and just a very, very quiet and subtle.
As you ping it at him, he kind of catches it, and as he pulls it down, he kind of fumbles it slightly, and he's gets it away. Nightstone rolls into distant view. Nightstone is a motte and bailey, so there's a sort of taller mound on one side surrounded by a moat which leads to the village proper. The village is surrounded by this high palisade wall, and the first thing that you notice is the bells of the town are ringing. Ira looks over to you and he says,
Oh, well, I was expecting a warm reception, but I don't think I was expecting it to be this warm. I mean, how famous are you, Aeolus? They ring the bells for you.
Aeolus, being a elf, high elf, his hearing is a little better, and a troubled look passes over his face. I haven't been here for quite some time, but I don't think these are bells of welcome. Why can I not hear any sounds of normal city life anywhere in this town?
she like listens. She's like, yeah, that's really wrong. You see, just in the distance, in the main square of the village, you see what looks like two tarpaulin bags rolling over each other. But on your 18, you see that these bags are large forms with thick fur. They look like giant dogs. I'd like you to roll me a stealth check.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to roll against their perception because they have pretty good senses of smell.
Do you want to know what I just rolled there?
I do.
A natural 1.
A natural 1? They rolled...
So adding on my proficiency, that means I've got a stealth check of 2.
Incredible. Aeolus, as Kira kind of descends and stands next to you, she sees like where you're looking, and she just sees in the darkness trouble, and she reaches to her rapier instinctively. The dogs are very distracted. They rolled only a natural 2.
Oh, okay, thank God.
Your natural 1. Do you have any adds to that natural 1?
Yeah, only 1, so I got a 2.
You got a 2. They have a +4, so they got a 6.
Oh, they got a 6.
The dogs, which are wargs, these big, like, they look like dogs, but their upper body is far too big for their lower body. They have these big front haunches, these big, like, massive mouths, rows of teeth and eyes, which are like, they are almost cat's eye-like in the way that they shrink down and laser focus on you from across the village. Kira looks at you. She's like, we should have gone to Nightstone. Wait, we're in Night. I know. She draws her rapier, and Aeolus, as you see these warg begin to charge. What do you want to do?
I think, given Aeolus's age, and I'm going to roll a nature check if that's okay to find out what I already know about wargs.
Hell yeah! Roll me a nature check. As Aeolus, as the warg are like, they look at you, they hunch down, and they start charging, and you're like, what are these things? You're like,
this is all happening internally.
I know about you.
So do you want to know what I just rolled there?
What did you roll?
A natural 20.
A natural 20!
With a +5, so 25.
Natural 20, huge. So, Aeolus, as these things charge in your direction, you know instantly that these are wargs. These are wargs which are kept almost exclusively. I mean, not exclusively. I mean, they are found in the wild, but not in a village. They're kept almost exclusively by goblins as mounts. Goblins have this incredibly sophisticated underground, usually, society. Very rare that they'd be found in a village. And you know 2 things. First, you know that these warg will respond to goblin instruction. And 2, you know that they are here means that goblins must be nearby.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. So what I'm doing is reading my character sheet here.
The question on everyone's lips is, do you speak goblin?
I do speak goblin. So, Aeolus, no hint of magic at all. No hint of magic. Aeolus is quite, he's got a resonance about his voice, but he's relatively understated. Most often just described as imperious, without any foggy hands, lightning hand, nothing at all. Raises his hand ahead of him in a stop sign, and in deep, fluent goblin commands the wargs, stop.
As the warg charge, these two charging in your direction, they pass the boulder like 20 feet, 10 feet. As you command them to stop, they like grind to a stop, and they kind of look at you and immediately kind of bow heads a little bit. And Kira draws her rapier and is like, what can't you do?
My other hand reaches across and just lowers Kira's rapier, ensuring that actually no misunderstanding here happens.
The warg like pad up to you, one of them, and just kind of nuzzles you gently, like quizzically, and sniffs at you.
My hand gently strokes their head. And as I'm doing that, with the second one slowly approaching, I know that in my spell slots, my spell inventory, I have sleep as a spell, a 4th level spell, sleep spell. And as the other one comes just close, my sleep spell has a radius of kind of like this radius that would encompass both of them. As the other one just comes close, these kind of really light azure tendrils move from my hand. I do need to roll for this spell, although I guess it's not an attack, so I might not need to roll. It's up to the DM, I guess.
I think here, because these warg are so chill, if they were attacking, like charging and attacking you, you try that maybe, but these little tendrils come out and the warg like curl up together, like one of them nuzzles into the other one's belly, and they just fall asleep in front of you. And Kira looks at you, she's like, how old are you?
Aeolus glances down sideways. Just another imperious. As with Ira earlier in the gold coin. We should go quietly still, though.
You hear
first.
from behind you, you hear Ira like,
Go quietly to the tavern, right?
Ira, I don't think the tavern is serving right now.
as the three of you step quietly into the village. We will find out what happens next time.
Very good. I haven't done D&D in ages.
That was very cool. Well done. My days. What I did not expect that. That is my constant experience as DM, is that you never can expect what's going to happen in a game of D&D.
Right. So to give some like insight there, Aeolus is a character I have played before in a previous campaign, and he is a wizard. He's a high elf. He's 260 years old. But importantly, one of the reasons I was able to do like quite a few of the things I did is that Aeolus is a level 7 character. So has over time and experience developed lots of additional skills and is able to cast like more powerful spells and has lots of proficiencies, like proficiency, what we would call proficiency bonuses. So when I was rolling the dice at like the nature roll that was at 20, I could add on another 5. So even if like 20 is like the top score. So if I was playing like a much newer character or a new or a character who hadn't had as many experiences, I wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff that I'd done. So that's kind of like a bit of an insight around that.
Incredible. It's so good that Aeolus, and I keep calling him Aeolus, I think because It reminds me of Elvish. Aeolus, very cool character. I really like him. Very cool. This and like, what a personality on Aeolus. This kind of like, very cool, kind of slightly dour, imperious kind of. Yeah. Is he half high elf? Did you say?
No, he's full high elf.
Full high elf.
So he's got the self-righteousness and the superiority that goes with that.
And the age and experience. Like Kira's
and the age
young compared to him. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's been around. He's fought white dragons. His companions, Gossamer and Pip, where are they? We don't know.
Where are they?
So why he's alone on this cart, we just don't know yet.
We just have to find out. Hey, listener, if you want to hear more Dungeons, this podcast is becoming a Dungeons Dragons podcast. If you want to hear educated guest stars D&D, just get in the comments.
So that was a really lovely intro. Great DMing, by the way. So DM is Dungeon Master, which is kind of like part storyteller, part narrator, part god, who can kind of like shape and decide and tell the story. So, when you were listening to that, some of what Aeolus and Kira were doing was decided by you, because you had that kind of sense of what was next. And within that, I guess there's space for characters like me, Aeolus, to improvise, to throw spanners in works, to go in completely different directions to what you might be expecting, to do nothing sometimes, which is also so. Yeah, the DM, the Dungeon Master, has a really important role in kind of facilitating this role play, performance, exploration, whatever it is that a character or a player might want to do.
There is a concept in the literature called bleed, which I quite enjoy, which is kind of perfect name to call a concept to do with D&D, because there's a lot of combat
for D&D.
Yeah. So the principle of bleed is that the skills that you deploy in Dungeons and Dragons are skills which then are like, they can bleed into real life. So the sort of social skills of playing in this world and finding the edges and being in relationship with someone else are skills that translate into real life a little, baby steps. So the kind of stuff that might make you anxious in the real world are things you can play at in D&D, and you might feel a little anxious, but the consequences of messing up in a social realm in D&D are usually hilarious, not going to be hugely problematic for your relationships. And if you do blunder a little bit in your real relationships in D&D, D&D is a place where you can talk it out and work it out together. And because the stakes are a little lower, because it's in a fantasy world, like you can talk it out and it can be a bit safer. So bleed is really cool. And it can get, like, relationships in D&D can get quite meaningful, even though you're playing a character, your relationships with other people matter. I've got a character that I'm playing at the moment in another game, and a good friend of mine and her have this kind of will they, won't they, have had it for like years, and finally they kissed like a few weeks ago. They finally kissed, and the moment, of course, it's like, like, we didn't kiss in real life. Important that that we didn't kiss in real life, right? And it happens with everyone's consent, those moments. Like, we've talked about it in advance. Me and this other character, like this other player, talked about what that would be like, and we're all adults. And it felt like the right moment. And it was like, when it happened, my heart sang, right? Because it's, there's a part of me in that character and in that relationship. And, it's a kind of, the bleed happens in the other direction too, right? It's not just about the skills and stuff that comes into real life, but also the you that gets put into the character, and the experience of the game is better for other people for that too.
Yeah. When there was a paper by Gray Atherton and colleagues in 2024. I love the title, A Critical Hit, Dungeons and Dragons as a Buff for Autistic People. Like, critical roles, critical hits, they're all very key things in D&D. And this idea of bleed, like, really coming up for the young autistic people that were playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I guess that fits with my professional practice where I have worked with many young autistic people who are D&D players, and maybe let's come back to like that as well. But this concept of bleed, what I found really fascinating in Atherton's paper is something that they talked about called emancipatory bleed, that it wasn't just about the bleeding of skills, but like this bleeding of kind of identity and philosophy on life. So there's a really lovely quote here from one of the participants that kind of exemplifies this idea of emancipatory bleed. And the participant says, "I think part of the fantasy is also just about belonging. When I was in middle school, I loved X-Men a lot. In middle school, I was intensely bullied. I wanted, to go to the boarding school for mutants, or, meet magic people, or go through the wardrobe, all that stuff. It's just finding somewhere where you belong and being with other people. And I think that plays in with the themes of D&D too, because you're in a party, you become like a family fighting together. So it's, basically like the friendship scenario. And that sense of what the world could be, and the possible, I guess, assumed difficulties that autistic people might have actually become less of an issue in that realm of D&D, because you're experiencing those emancipatory narratives of connection, belonging, doing something together, your skills being so key to the success of the party, which is so different, I think, to what autistic people are told often.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's beautiful. And of course, there's like the two levels to it. Like, as your party are, as your characters begin to build relationships and are like doing things in the world, your fireball is critical to saving another character from getting eaten by an ogre or whatever it is, right? There's also the kind of meta layer of the group all coming together in one place, and your relationship, like, as players, because you do the thing that puts you in danger but that saves your friend, and that brings you literally closer together in the real world. And you're also just kind of all coming together, grabbing pizza and spending time together, where the rules of social interaction are literally written in a book. Like, someone literally wrote the book of how to do, of the rules of Dungeons and Dragons. So all of your, like, the things that you do are all built out of rules which are written, not just implicit as they are in kind of real world relationships.
Quick like 90-degree turn. We kind of got into this, but D&D, I'm just thinking about its history in terms of, now we're in this conversation talking about it as a potential for learning skills and approaches and how it can enrich your friendships and belonging. But I'm thinking about, in the early days, this was a satanic pursuit that was, its history is about, the satanic panic of D&D and how kids were summoning the occult and that's the history. And I wonder if it has had a legacy, because I do think to some extent that it is maybe less so, particularly with like Stranger Things, and that being such a big like PR win for D&D. But this history, I just wonder how you think the history of like, this is terrible and it's leading kids into like evil. How do you think that's affected like the story of D&D all the way up to today?
I think it has had huge implications for those of us who are alive in the 80s, when D&D was seen as like a satanic experience. Like, because it features like Dungeons and Dragons features all the classic fantasy elements that you'd see in any fantasy novel or movie, right? You'd see elves and fairies and goblins and ogres. It also stretches into like there are divine creatures and gods and devils and demons and in kind of modern D&D it doesn't slip into monotheistic religion too much. It's quite a it's a unique pantheon for sure. And I can see why in a sort of Judeo-Christian dominant society that is quite monotheistic, you might see this as somehow problematic, like coming together as a group and and rolling dice might have appeared like you were in some kind of, I don't know, at the very worst, like a cult of sorts, right? And I think, you know, what that has done to a whole generation of geeks, of people who love these things, is to push them further into the margins, alongside like video gamers of the 80s, alongside people who just had kind of niche interests. Before the advent of the internet, which I think was a space where people who had niche interests no longer felt alone, realized that those interests were not as niche as they might have appeared. They were not the only one who was into that thing. And D&D was as an example of that. So I think what happened is that a whole raft of people felt like they might be the only one. They're kind of isolated, segregated from each other, and kept to the margins, marginalized. They were marginalized.
There's a study from American colleagues in 2024. This was a study of the efficacy of the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons for improving mental health and self-concepts in a community sample. So they had 25 participants split into different parties, different D&D parties, played D&D cool. 1 hour a week for 8 weeks. And they measured mental health using the depression, anxiety, and stress scale, looked at self-esteem, looked at self-efficacy. And their overall findings were they found significant reductions in depression, anxiety, and stress, as well as significant increases in self-esteem and self-efficacy. But, if you're able to feel better and feel like you have more kind of, if we think about self-esteem, like the ability to, and self-efficacy to affect the world around you, that you can do that, that's going to influence a whole range of different outcomes for you.
I've got a piece of research from Thomas, 2025, a thesis of clinical research, which is really a reflexive and thematic analysis about young people's experiences of D&D, mostly 18 to 25. Quite a gender diverse sample, about 3 men, 3 women, 5 non-binary folk, and quite an ethnically diverse sample as well. 5 white British, 2 Asian or Asian British, 2 white other, 2 mixed ethnicity. And basically they created a load of quotes from these young people about their experiences. And it's nice. Absolutely gorgeous. It really speaks to what we've been talking about. So Bunny says, of course, it's pseudonym, but great choice of pseudonym. But for that couple of hours on a Thursday evening, I didn't have to worry about the impending deadlines or the difficulties happening in my relationships, my faltering mental health. I was somewhere else. I was someone else. Gorgeous.
Yeah. There's, I guess, elements of escapism. And I wonder if there's like some sort of narrative in contemporary modern mental health literature that like escapism is a bad thing. Right. But that doesn't seem to be what Bunny's saying.
There's some others as well. I've got so many freaking quotes here that I absolutely love. I actually realized that these are siblings who I can connect to, Just because we're not technically blood related doesn't mean that I can't, accept them as my brothers. That's Ash.
Awesome.
Accept them as my brothers.
Because when you are...
Go for it. Sorry.
When you are doing you talked about a campaign that was like 3 years, and our first campaign that we got involved with some friends, Laura and Dave, live around the corner, introduced us to D&D. It started with a one shot, so just a one evening of doing a campaign, and then actually we then started a proper one, which went on for years. And you do get to know. Like we knew, I knew them already, but actually when you spend that much time together and you're solving problems and you're having banter and conflicts, you get to know those people in such greater depth. And so, there is that kind of familial aspect to it.
If the relationships are real, the experiences are real, they have consequences. They only exist in that world, but they are to some extent real. Then like the advantages emotionally are also going to be real.
Yeah, totally. There's a paper by Aubrey Adams, 2013, and Aubrey explored like what needs are met through these role-playing games, particularly Dungeons and Dragons. And one of the emergent sort of themes that came out of it was friendship maintenance. And the way that Adams does this is kind of use the quotes. So looked at a Facebook group that went alongside the D&D playing game that the party were having. So that would be the place where the DM would like communicate anything that needed to be prepared for the next week, or, you know, would give them options to do, you know, and reward them in the game. So, you know, if you do this survey to help me work out this, then next time you get 100 gold in the game. So really like melding real life and fantasy. And one of the themes that came from the analysis of all these Facebook groups about the needs that are being met was friendship maintenance. And there's a really great, so Adams has lifted like comments from this Facebook group to demonstrate these themes. And the comment that Adams lifted was, representing spirits of fate, they told Miss that in order to gain power, she must sacrifice one of her comrades. Having too much love in her heart to sacrifice the life of one of her comrades, she instead cut her own heart. Surprised at this, the spirits of fate wailed and cried and restored Mist's thread as quickly as they could. Which is like, yes, what more? That self-sacrifice within friendship is like, wow.
Stunning. I can only imagine what the experience would have been to do that, to make that choice, believing that, you know, this will be the end of my character.
That's the end of my character.
But I will not harm my friends.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't experience that with a group of people in a fake game. You know, it's fantasy. It's completely imaginary. You can't experience that with a group of people where someone in front of you says, I will not sacrifice any of my characters, my friends. I will sacrifice myself, and not leave that game moving into the real world thinking, I love this person. What a boss. Like, you know,
I love this
they care that much.
That's such a moment. Such a moment.
Do we need to talk about how, or do we need to consider how D&D has, in its history, been seen as exclusionary and reinforcing, well, particularly racial stereotypes?
Yes.
Because it, as a cultural kind of phenomenon, has come under a lot of fire for that for a number of reasons. Do you want to, give us an intro to some of that kind of critique of it and its history?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously, when it was born of a very different time, and there are certain ideas even in modern-ish D&D. They've sort of fallen by the wayside very recently, thankfully. But certain concepts like racial traits are something which D&D has long had a history with, where because of your heritage that you choose, you have certain traits which are always associated kind of deterministically by that heritage. And of course, that creates a problem for kind of like a sort of racial determinism, almost a sort of stereotyping of, oh, because you are an elf, you are this way, which like conceptually is problematic for like a dozen different reasons in real world life, right?
Orcs are always evil. Orcs are always violent. Yeah,
precisely.
Yeah, definitely.
A good DM in Dungeons and Dragons will shape the rules as they see fit. So if, you know, when you are dungeon mastering out there, there's a job in scrutinizing and challenging your own unconscious biases as you see them, but also in kind of scrutinizing the systems that you're using for the telltale little frictions that indicate that they were built by and for a particular kind of person. And those little frictions, if there's too many of them, can become abrasive and indicate a kind of institutional prejudice, right? Like the systemic prejudice inherent in the system. So you just got to be alert to that. You aren't bound by these rules. They're like a guideline. And if a rule creates a problem for you, if you see it, then change it. Write about it. You know, make it better for your players.
You talked about earlier, you know, like the idea of D&D being like used as an intervention and like this risk of it being changed. Whereas I guess maybe we might share the view that actually part of its success and part of its ability to have these effects is because of how it is already. You know, it's the inherent kind of team aspect of it, the various things you need to do. Is there a risk that psychology gets its hands on this thing, and then you kind of, it just becomes totally psychologized, and you just think, well, this is now so far from what it's meant to be that, yeah, fine, it's an intervention, but it sure as hell isn't the stuff that's been studied in these early pieces of research looking at D&D, which feel quite naturalistic.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely that risk. I think, I think psychology is as guilty as any discipline of, because it's kind of beholden to capitalist drives. Whoa, take capitalist rant.
Yeah, woo, bingo.
But I suppose D&D is as well. But like, there's now a sort of, given that the research is there, I wouldn't be surprised if someone has the bright idea of being like, wow, we could repackage this as a therapeutic tool, right? You could say therapeutic D&D, call it, I don't know what you'd call it. I better not design the name because someone will use it.
Don't give it away.
Yeah, I want to do this thing. You could make a lot of money, I think, packaging this as a therapeutic tool with its evidence base. I mean, actually, there's far more therapeutic interventions being done in schools today which have far poorer evidence base than this. So,
right.
It wouldn't take a lot for somebody to bring all this together, package it, and then deliver it in schools, and then over engineer it, which I guess is your concern, right? Like, it's going to be over engineered. It's going to have too much, like, there's going to be too much control.
Yeah, too much adult control, where, because, I feel like, given what the emerging research is saying about it, the nightmare would be like that children are forced into this intervention to meet a whole, this will develop your social skills, this will develop your turn taking, where the adults or the intervention prescribes the role, prescribes the approach of the story, where we don't have, like, you've got adults saying to young people, well, we don't talk like that, or we don't do those things, or we don't use our spells to attack other people, like, it's all got to be very democratic and egalitarian, and actually, we know as players, actually sometimes what you need is to destroy that wall, and that will move the party on. So yeah, my concern would be that all of those things start to happen, and which actually runs entirely counter to the idea of creative storytelling and problem solving and imagination.
Yeah, and D&D goes wrong sometimes. Like, if you over engineer it and you try and make it, like, just try and sterilize it of all of the friction and the challenges and the difficulties that evolve in any D&D group, right? You're always going to have problems in a D&D group. There are always going to be, like, little moments of friction, or challenges, or big moments of friction as you detonate a wall with a fireball. And those conflicts and resolving them are part of what make D&D what it is, playing in those experiences. And I think I think you're right. I think there is a real risk that this gets engineered into a packaged product which can get deployed in schools for some absurd amount of money. Pay me £1,000 and I'll come and do a training on how to do D&D and your Twilight.
Yeah, actually, just let them get on with it. And you don't even really need much.
Yeah, and there's a real risk, I think, that because Dungeons and Dragons hinges on the game master. It fully does. A bad game master will create a problem for a D&D group really badly. You really do need a good, experienced game master to do it well. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, if anybody checks out Matt Colville on YouTube, he does, like, a bunch of videos introducing people to dungeon mastering. And I think his fundamental point is anybody can be a GM. And I think that is true. GM Games Master, I think that is true. I think anybody can do this. But I think you need a certain amount of experience to get good at it. And if you're going to deploy it with children, young people, particularly children, young people who are in some way vulnerable, like if they are probably going to struggle in that setting, if they feel anxious about it, if this is a setting that they they want to have a tryout, but they are really scared of what's going to happen. You need a games master who's going to be very secure in what they're doing, who makes the players feel very safe, who sets ground rules enough that everyone feels okay, and who can manage those conflicts that will emerge in a way that keeps everyone safe and happy. So if we package a product, create D&D intervention and try and deploy it in schools so that everybody just throws their hand into D&D, that's a beautiful thing. But if you're going to become a games master and run one of these, you need to have a crack at it, like in a bunch of different places before you try and run it in school, would be my advice. Yeah.
Because I guess it feels like there's a nuanced distinction here. Like the act of participating and doing D&D may well lead to developed social skills or, an increase in self-efficacy, but it isn't. You don't play D&D to increase your self-efficacy. You think that kind of, it's not for that. It's kind of a bit like, mindfulness as an intervention. Like, one of the effects of it may well be a reduction in stress, but doing mindfulness isn't to reduce your stress. And I think it's the same kind of thing with this, that I guess the intention behind it would be important for any group of young people. Lest you lose the aspect of play, which is the whole point. That some of the quotes from the people that we've looked at, I don't think would be there if they were told, right, you're in D&D intervention at 12 p.m. every Tuesday. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think D&D fundamentally is about play. So everybody who is in D&D needs to be there because they want to be and because they want to play together. Yeah. And then, if you've got a young person who is a bit socially isolated, who you think might like it, I think that's a lovely thing to be able to say, hey, we actually got a D&D group. You fancy joining? Like, you can come and watch and see if it's something you want to kind of participate in next time or something like that. But you're right. Like, forcing people or putting people, saying, oh, this intervention is the intervention you're going to do because it's good for you. It runs the risk of being really challenging, I think.
Yeah. So I didn't expect 15 episodes ago for us to be doing like a D&D episode thinking about well-being, learning the philosophy. Great fun. Absolutely loved it.
I love it. I think this is great. And I think I know that you and I are both D&D fans. That helps. I think
it does help.
We do a lot of D&D.
Yeah, hopefully we've created a few more fans or potential players, thinking about their various characters and what they might bring to a realm that they find themselves in.
Totally. Hey, if listeners want to jump in on a D&D game, the Educated Guess D&D game, you just have to get in the comments and you'll start a live stream D&D game. I like Critical Role. God.
Which are big, popular, big business kind of events, aren't they? There are lots of really popular, really kind of well-viewed D&D parties, players. The two friends that we play D&D with have been to like Wembley Arena and watched the live, live shows, which that's like next level. But
I went to London to go see Dimension 20 do Time Quangle. If you find them online and you see their London show, there's a moment when Ali Beardsley rolls and Brennan Lee Mulligan, who's the GM, was like, Ali's idea was really out there, and Brennan in the last moment was like, listen, it's got to be a natural 20. You got to roll a 20 on this 20-sided die. There's no other chance. Ali rolls, it's a natural 20, and the entire arena explodes. And I was there. It was so loud that my ears like started to like get static in from the line. It was incredible moment.
Wow.
And listeners, natural 20s, there is something in, like, when Dan rolled that nat 20 today. I hope you all were shouting in the audience, because those kind of moments where you try and do something dangerous, you try and do something tricky, and you know it's got a small chance of success, and you roll a natural 20 and the whole room jumps up in laughter.
Yeah.
That's D&D.
Absolutely. And that is probably this, you asked, are these my natural 20? That's probably the last natural 20 this dice will see in about 6 months.
You blew it on a...
it's been blown on a bloody intro to a podcast. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And now I kind of really want to get back. Maybe I'll give the group a little message and say, hey, should we get back to Eberron? And
should we play some D&D?
Yeah, should we get back onto it? Because we've got a lot of exploring to do. So yeah, it's kind of reinvigorated the D&D energy.
Yes, absolutely. More D&D can only be a good thing. I'm at a wedding on Saturday. Otherwise, we'd be playing D&D on Saturday.
Damn weddings.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Well, enjoy the wedding. And as always, this has been a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to hearing this episode. I mean, I look forward to hearing them all, but this is a really cool one.
This was a fun one. Thanks, thanks to you. Always good fun, as always. And hey, Dan, I love you.
See you soon.
See you soon.